Let's speak up, step up, and stand up. Let's refuse to shut up until the Equal Rights Amendment is no longer held up. Let's ramp up and sister up for the change we deserve and the equality
we should have been born into,
so that our daughters and their daughters will be. Let's shake up and stand up and woman up. Right now.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Rabb and have the incredible privilege of serving as the president of Hunter College, where the American dream has been coming true for 150 years. Let's hear it. Yep. There is truly no better place to launch a petition drive guaranteeing equal rights for women than here at Hunter College. Hunter was only the 9th school in the United States to admit female students into higher education. And from the very onset, founder Thomas Hunter insisted this institution be open to women regardless of race, religion, background, or economic status. Quite a progressive idea in the 1870s. As we know, generation after generation of Hunter students have been pursuing their own dreams here and working to extend the American promise to wherever circles of opportunity. The roster includes distinguished women graduates like Pauli Murray, Bella Abzug, Ruby Dee, Audre Lorde, Sonia Sanchez, Nobel Prize winners Rosalind Yalow and Gertrude Elian, and our amazing recent Rhodes Scholars, 2 in the last 4 years. All of them brilliantly reflect the Hunter motto, Mihi Cura Futuri, the care of the future is mine. But that's only part of why Hunter, and particularly Roosevelt House, are the perfect setting for today's announcement of the latest urgent attempt to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. Roosevelt House trains leaders of the future, but it also reflects the history of 2 American giants of the past who once lived and worked here, Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. Franklin, who crafted the New Deal right upstairs following his election as president, and his extraordinary wife, Eleanor, who launched her own career as an independent social justice and human rights advocate within these very walls. Who better to remember with gratitude and affection this morning than the truly remarkable woman who served as the First Lady of New York State, the First Lady of the United States, and let's just say it, the First Lady of the world. And then, and then 75 years ago, in 1948, at the Hunter College in the Bronx, chaired the UN commission that drafted and passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But even before that milestone, Eleanor had made her way slowly but surely to feminist activism, beginning with her book, It's Up to the Women, and in her tireless campaign to include women in the benefits of the New Deal programs. As she so wisely put it back in 1945, the year she left the White House, quote, "If we do not see that equal opportunity, equal justice, and equal treatment are given every citizen, then the very basics on which this country can hope to survive with liberty and justice, all will be wiped away." And that's what today is about, guaranteeing liberty and justice for all, and the people who so tenaciously fight for that goal, like our own Eleanor Roosevelt Distinguished Leader in Residence, the extraordinary Carolyn Maloney, who fought for equal rights so tenaciously in Congress for 30 years. Let's give it up for Carolyn Maloney. Woo! All we can say is Congress' loss is Hunter's gain. Carolyn continues to lead this fight today by inspiring our Hunter students in the Eva Cast and Grow Fellowship Program, from you will hear from soon, to move and fight for justice. What a special moment it is to welcome these accomplished students and also the extraordinary dignitaries gathered here today, this morning, in support of the Equal Rights Amendment. Arus Santoshi from Generation Ratify, Zakia Thomas of the ERA Coalition, Christian Nunez of NOW, the great Ellie Smeal, CEO of Feminist Majority, and of course the publisher of Ms. Magazine, and finally, a truly legendary activist whose accomplishments are too long to mention, Except I'm going to point out she has a Hunter honorary degree, the one and only Gloria Steinem. Woo! What a roster. I can't help observing that this is the greatest gathering of brilliant women to meet in this together, well, since Eleanor Roosevelt dined here alone. Now let me bring to the podium, with great gratitude and appreciation, one of the country's most reliable and powerful advocates for women's rights and women's reproductive freedom. As you all know, he's the majority leader of the U.S. Senate. We're always honored and excited when Chuck Schumer visits Hunter, as he does dependently and inspiredly at each of our commencement ceremonies, sending our graduates into the future with real hope that they can build on the great education here and conquer the world. So Asiya Khan, who's one of our students today, presenting, will be a senior, Chuck, at the graduation ceremony, May 30th at Barclays, your home borough of Brooklyn. And I know she would like very much to have you at her graduation. No pressure. But most importantly, our wonderful, wonderful senator is here now to lend his support and influence to the new signed for petition drive to speak up for the ERA. And he joins us just 2 business days after working so valiantly to pass a women's rights bill through the Senate. Thank you, Senator Schumer, for all you do. You do truly live the Hunter motto of caring for the future. You are one of the country's extraordinary leaders, and we're so grateful to have you with us today to support this petition drive. Join me in welcoming the extraordinary Chuck Schumer.
Carolyn asked me to be the first signatory on the petition, so I want to do that right now. I'm not putting in my email, sorry. Great, I'm honored to do that. Thank you, everybody. Okay, well, it's so great to be here today, and I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank, of course, our amazing Hunter College president, Jennifer Rebb. What she has done with this university is nothing short of amazing. And a big thank you to all the other amazing women, advocates, students, trailblazers with us today. And another shout out, given where we are today, to an equally amazing rights champion, our longest ever serving First Lady, the great Eleanor Roosevelt, who I know would be in support of all of us today and in this push. Where's my iPad? What do I do with it? I got to show it again. Oh, well. I can't wait showing her picture all the time. And I know she'd be in support today. It was Eleanor who said, "Remember always that you have not only the right to be an individual, you have an obligation to be one." And that is very, very well said. Now, all of us here gathered today, this is sort of the point, the right to be an individual, unimpeded by government or anything else that might hold back inalienable rights and freedoms that America has come to embody. But for women now, right across this great land, there's a real worry that rights protected for decades will be taken away. We are at an ominous hour in American history. Recent events, like the Supreme Court's horrible, awful Dobbs decision that stripped away a woman's right to choose and undid 50 years of precedent, are there. The uncertainty with critical care drugs women have depended on, like mifepristone, which we're fighting back against right now, and a slew of state actions now being proposed across this great nation that are intended not to expand the rights of women, but actually constrict them, have us all on edge. But we are here today not to curse the darkness. No, no. We are here to light a candle, and that candle will shine bright and expose the hypocrisy, the bigotry, the anti-feminism that's going on across the country. And as long as each of us continues to hold that candle in our own way, we will succeed. We are here to stand united, inch by inch, and restore the fight for and expand women's rights so that women of today and the generations of tomorrow can do what Eleanor Roosevelt spoke about. Be who they are. I'm here today to announce that I will call for a historic vote this week on the floor of the Senate to advance women's rights. I am calling for a vote on the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA. Here we go. ERA, yes. It's good to be the majority leader. I can determine what goes on the floor of the Senate. Now, this is a vote that we all here support, but you know something? For one reason or another, as you know, things don't come easy in Washington. But we are New Yorkers. We persist, persist, and persist. And so that is why I stand with you, because we will hold this vote on the ERA. We will get the word out around the country that however long it takes, we will work to succeed so that each of you have equal rights. Let me give you some background. The Equal Rights Amendment is necessary because when the Constitution was originally written, all women had far fewer civil and legal rights than privileged categories of men did. In fact, people forget, in most states at the time of the Constitution, you had to be a white, male, Protestant property owner to vote. Who could have voted? You probably, Hubbard. I don't know if he owns property, but he fits the rest of the categories. We've known each other a long time. Okay? The founding document has never been amended or interpreted to guarantee that the rights of women as a class and the rights of men as a class are simply equal. For the first time, when the Constitution was adopted in 1787, the rights it affirmed were guaranteed equally only for certain white males. After a bloody civil war, ongoing political struggles, those rights have been extended far more broadly through constitutional amendments, laws, and court decisions. However, those rights are not yet guaranteed to apply equally without regard to sex. The Equal Rights Amendment would provide a fundamental constitutional remedy against sex discrimination by guaranteeing that legal rights may not be denied or abridged on account of sex. For the first time, sex would be considered a suspect class, as race, religion, and national origin currently are. Government actions that treat males or females differently as a class would be subject to strict judicial scrutiny and would have to meet the highest level of justification, a necessary relation to a compelling state interest to be upheld as constitutional. The ERA would guarantee equal justice under law, the promise inscribed, of course, over the entrance of the Supreme Court, which I hope all of our justices will look at when they decide, and send a strong preemptive warning against writing, administering, or adjudicating laws unequally on the basis of sex. The Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, was first proposed and introduced in Congress 100 years ago, and has still not been affirmed or ratified as part of the United States Constitution. The original Equal Rights Amendment was proposed in 1923 by Alice Paul, woman suffrage leader and head of the National Woman's Party, and was introduced in Congress in the same year. It was reintroduced earlier this year in the Senate by Ben Cardin, and this week it is that I am bringing to a vote. As you all know, there was a 7-year limitation in the original legislation, and not the requisite number of states passed it, and the Cardin legislation just gets rid of that 7-year limitation, which would automatically pass the Equal Rights Amendment and put it in the Constitution. This, to my Republican colleagues, a watchword: think. Think before you vote. Any of you who might shoulder shrug on this issue and the incredible women of America fighting for equal rights day and night, the women are watching you. And despite some of your best efforts, women can vote. And they will, and they have. And they stand on the shoulders of legends. Some are no longer with us, but others, they walk among us. Like my friend Gloria Steinem, she needs no introduction. We stand on her shoulders. She has been in this fight her entire life. I have worked with her and Carolyn Maloney and so many others here to propel this cause to uplift the women's agenda. So without further ado, remember the candles I spoke about. Let me introduce one of our very brightest, Gloria Steinem.
You know, there's no suspense here. I'm sorry that you have to wait for the expected, but I'm just saying that I'm sorry you have to wait for the expected, but nothing on earth is more important than finally being the only democracy in the world that excludes women from the Constitution. I think that when we have airports where international travelers arrive, we should just put up a huge banner that says, "Welcome to the only democracy in the world," which it is a shame, or a shanda, as we say here in New York, that this has not yet become real. All of my lifetime, it has been an issue. We, in the beginning, used to say that it was too tame, right, to be an issue. We had no idea that it would have the impediment it has because of the importance of its effect. So part of the reason our rights have been rolling backward, besides a man named Donald Trump, is the absence. I'm not supposed to say that, right? No, why not? Okay. 96% of us in New York voted against him, so it's not our fault. It is terribly, terribly important and also terribly, terribly shameful that we are the one democracy in the world that doesn't have the Equal Rights Amendment or a Equal Rights Amendment in the Constitution. I'm so heartened to see young people here because you are the ones who will activate opinion and voters to really make the change happen. And I pledge I have to stay alive long enough to celebrate. So we have to hurry up, right? I did look up who was the oldest woman in the world, and she was 130. But she lived in the Himalayas, so I don't think I can count on that. But I thank you all for being here, physically, spiritually, with all of your intelligence and humor. You are the difference that we need. This will be such a celebration when we finally get the Equal Rights Amendment. So I am here to thank everyone, especially Senator Schumer, for leadership and for courage and for tenacity, and also to something I've all longed to do because she's such a great woman, is to introduce Carolyn Maloney. She, as you know, is our congressional representative and has been an ERA champion for decades and decades, and you and I are going to have one hell of a celebration when it finally passes. The great Carolyn.
Great. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for everything you've done for all of us, and thank you for being with us today. Well, good morning. I'd like to say it's a great morning and such music to my ears to hear the senator from New York, the leader in our Congress, announce that we are going to have the first vote in 40 years on the Equal Rights Amendment in the United States Senate. Thank you so much, Senator. I wasn't expecting that. We were announcing a petition drive, but this is historic. This is really, really important, and the women of America, thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for being here today to launch the Sign for the ERA National Petition Drive, led by 4 remarkable Grove Fellows here at Hunter College at Roosevelt House. I am so proud of them and their work. This petition is a way for all of us to have an important impact on public policy in our country. It's been 100 years since the ERA was first introduced by Alice Paul, a relative of my late husband, Clifton Maloney, and I introduced it 12 times in the Congress during my tenure. We've never been closer to ratification. The ERA has passed with 2/3 votes in the House and the Senate. It's been ratified by 38 states, and we have Senator Cardin's bill to vote on. Momentum is surging, and it could never be more important than it is now. Following the Dobbs decision and the possible rollback of mifepristone, my daughters, one of whom is with me today, Virginia, now have fewer rights than I did at their age. We can only restore and enforce their rights and those of millions of others by cementing the ERA in the Constitution. The Supreme Court is not listening to Americans. This student-led petition drive will be a deafening roar for our country and our rights. Let me be clear that it is up to the Congress and the states to amend the Constitution. The courts interpret it, and the President's office has the job of enforcement. Congress can recognize that 38 states have ratified and that the arbitrary time limit is no longer valid. That is what our legislation does. These Grove Fellows attended the recent Senate judiciary hearings and heard firsthand how meaningful the ERA would be for all of our lives, especially young women. They drafted a petition to support the resolutions that is right here, and now they want people across the country to join in demanding equality. There's so many people to thank. First, thanking all of you for being here, but thank you to Harold Holzer, head of Roosevelt House. He's got so many titles, but my favorite is he was a former press secretary to a Hunter graduate, Bella Abzug. Thank you especially to President Jennifer Raab for doing so much to make Hunter College an even greater school, literally creating Roosevelt House and Roosevelt House's Public Policy Institute, and supporting the Eva Katzen Grove Fellowship. 4 brilliant Grove Fellows are leading this petition drive today. And now you get a chance to meet them, starting with Asia Khan, a senior public health major. She will be followed by Lyle Reed, Maya Moldy, and Andrew Loca. Please welcome Asia and the 4 Grove Fellows. Come up to the stage, and we want you to sign the petition. Asia, all of you, why don't you come up here, up to the stage, and sign the petition first, and then we'll have a chance to hear from them. And while they're signing, take out your phones and sign number 4, ERA.org. You can do it on your phones right now. Don't forget, and get all your friends to sign. That's the purpose of this petition drive. And we're just, okay.
Thank you, everyone. As Congresswoman Maloney said, my name is Asia Khan. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a public health student advocating for the ERA. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to the student leaders throughout the CUNY system who are here today. We appreciate your support on this important issue so much. For decades, women have fought for equal rights, and the ERA was designed to enshrine those rights in the Constitution. One of the most important issues the ERA addresses is the persistent pay gap between men and women. As a first-generation immigrant woman, I can tell you that pay discrimination is all too real. Women in America earn only 80 cents for every dollar that a man earns. For women of color, that gap is even wider. Over a woman's lifetime, she loses between $500,000 and $1.2 million. This contributes to older women being the largest group of impoverished people in the country. That is an unbelievable statistic. As an immigrant woman myself, the promise of coming from the Caribbean, I didn't think I would need to face the same issue of inequality. I've seen firsthand how important it is for women to have the same rights in the Constitution and protected under the law as men. The ERA is a vital piece of legislation that is long overdue. It is time for us to sign and stand together now for the ERA. Thank you, and I would like to introduce my fellow colleague, Lyle Reed.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today. Again, my name is Lyle Reed. My pronouns are they, them, and I am exceptionally proud to be able to represent the Grow Fellowship today. I myself am a returning student. I'm 31 years old, which means I was in high school 10 years ago. And I can tell you at that time, when I needed an abortion, I knew I could go to Planned Parenthood and get safe, accessible care without judgment. Now, many high school students in my home state do not have that same option, and so many more do not have it in large swaths of our country. I'm frankly heartbroken and furious that they have less rights than I did 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It's so recent. Everyone deserves this basic measure of autonomy to deserve what they want to do with their life. I'm also a very queer person, and I went on a very good date this Friday with a trans woman. She's super hot. And like a good lesbian, I immediately thought about us getting married and having kids. But I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried that trans people won't be able to adopt children. I'm worried that I won't be able to marry her if I want to. It's real. It's real. The attack is real, and it's getting stronger every day. And that's why I'm urging you to please sign the petition today. Join us in the fight for building a legal framework for women and people of all genders to fight back for their self-determination. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. And now I am so excited to introduce my colleague. Please welcome Maya Molde, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Multi. My pronouns are she and her. And I wanted to thank everyone, all the distinguished speakers and guests, for joining us today as we gather to address a critical issue that affects the very fabric of our society. Today, I stand before you to share my story as a woman who has experienced life in 2 different countries. Today, I stand before you to share my story as a woman who has experienced life in 2 different countries, Tunisia and the United States. These 2 countries are worlds apart in terms of geography, culture, and history. And when it comes to the status of women's rights, the differences are also striking. While women in Tunisia are protected under the Constitution and are provided legal protections for domestic violence, the United States has yet to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. While it is true that progress has been made in recent years to address domestic violence in the United States, there are still significant gaps in the protection offered to those who experience this all too common reality. The current legal framework falls short in providing adequate resources, support, and preventive measures to combat domestic violence. The Equal Rights Amendment is not just a piece of legislation. It represents a fundamental principle that should have been enshrined in our Constitution long ago. Please sign our petition and get everyone you know to sign it. Together, we can work towards a future where every person is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve, regardless of gender. Thank you. I would now like to welcome my good friend and fellow colleague, Andrew Loka.
Hello everybody, my name is Andrew Loka. I'm a junior studying political science, and one day I hope to operate in a legal system that does include women in the Constitution. Thank you for your time and listening to us speak about the importance of the Equal Rights Amendment today. Today, we're setting off a petition that's going to push our country one step closer to holding true to its founding ideals. Our civil rights leaders paved the way with the 19th Amendment, and it is our generation's turn to continue on that path with the passage of the 28th. It is our responsibility to ourselves and future generations to fight for what we have recited since our youth, with liberty and justice for all. All. The ERA is more than needed. It is 100 years overdue, and for every year that women are not mentioned in our Constitution, we as a nation fail our millions of hardworking mothers, our ambitious siblings, and our aspiring children. It is time to bring them the change that they deserve. Thank you, and please sign the petition today. Get everyone you know to sign the petition today. It is now my great pleasure and honor to welcome Arush Santoshi, the National Policy Director for Generation Ratify. Everyone, please welcome Arushi. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to begin by thanking Majority Leader Schumer and Distinguished Leader Maloney for their leadership on the Equal Rights Amendment. My name is Arush Santoshi. I'm a junior in high school from New Jersey and one of the national policy directors of Generation Ratify, a movement of over 12,000 young people organizing for the publication of the Equal Rights Amendment. Young people have always been at the forefront of the ERA movement, and amidst nationwide attempts to circumscribe the boundaries of our existence, one thing is clear. We have the most to gain and the most to lose in the fight for constitutional gender equality. I'm here representing a broad coalition of young feminist organizers whose unique experiences have brought them to this movement. Survivors of sexual assault who've been failed by the weak Title IX protections in their school. Queer youth whose identities are being targeted by Don't Say Gay laws and restrictions on gender-affirming care. Young people who are being stripped of their right to abortion and other reproductive health care. People who've been denied pay parity, and youth of color who are disproportionately impacted by gender inequality. We are unified by a collective understanding that the Equal Rights Amendment is a necessary first step in ensuring gender justice, the historic denial of which marks an egregious error that is Congress's duty to correct. If you're activated by what you're hearing, get out your phone and look up @Generation Ratify on Instagram. Do it right now. I want to see phones out right now. Follow us and click the link in our bio to send a letter to your representatives and senators demanding that they take action on the ERA. Once you fill that out, we will be in touch with ways to start organizing with us. We are the youth-led movement fighting for not just any Equal Rights Amendment, but an ERA that is inclusive and expansive, centering the issues that young people care the most about. Join us. Thank you. And I would now like to introduce the amazing Zakiya Thomas from the ERA Coalition.
Zakiya is the president and CEO of the ERA Coalition, and she is now leading almost 200 organizations in support of the ERA. Thank you, Zakiya.
Good morning. I'm Zakiya Thomas, President and CEO of the ERA Coalition and the Fund for Women's Equality. We actually represent over 283 partner organizations, many of which are here in the crowd with us, so thank you for being a part of it. On behalf of the over 80 million people we represent, thank you, Senator Schumer, for your support and for advancing the Equal Rights Amendment in the Senate. Thank you to our ERA champion, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and the Grove Scholar students at Hunter College for taking on the mantle of the ERA to raise awareness of the need to enshrine sex equality in the Constitution. The Equal Rights Amendment has overwhelming public support. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans across both parties support the amendment granting equality for all. As we've heard, the rights we have relied on to protect women, communities of color, and the LGBTQ+ community are being rolled back. The Dobbs decision shows that a majority of our Supreme Court interprets the Constitution as it was originally written. As Senator Schumer noted, a time before women and people of color could vote, own land, or otherwise live as free individuals. If we want to see ourselves in the Constitution, we have to put ourselves there, and that's what the ERA would do. It would empower Congress to protect against discrimination for all people, as another tool we can use to make our system fair and equitable for everyone, a necessary step towards fixing a system that's been broken for too long for too many people. So let's get this done for our families, for all of our communities, and for all of America. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Christian Nunez from the National Organization of Women.
Excuse me, everyone. I need to interrupt the proceedings for just a second because Senator Schumer has received a call that he's needed in Washington. We would love to get one photograph of the senator right here with all of you in the background and all of our speakers standing with him before he leaves. So can we set that up and interrupt?
1, 2, 3.
ERA now!
Great. Thank you, everybody. Sorry to interrupt.
Not only am I a teacher here now at Roosevelt House, but I'm the state director of NOW for New York State. And I have to have a very special thank you to the head of NOW National for being here with us. I call NOW the NRA of the women's movement because we're in every state, we're in every city, hopefully in every congressional district, and it will be a vital part of taking this ERA petition to the people. It is also the only organization in America that is dedicated completely, totally, and solely, with the exception of the ERA Coalition, to advancing the rights and opportunities and equality of women. So thank you for what you do every day, Christian.
Thank you so much, Honorable Carolyn Maloney, and she helped me with the first part of my speech, so I can just eliminate that part. But I also wanted to just say good morning to everyone. Thank you to President Robb, Honorable Leader Schumer, and Carolyn Maloney, and all of the Generation Ratify, the fellows, and all the leaders that I get an opportunity to work with every day in this fight to ratify the ERA. I just want us to think about the amount of time we've been fighting for this, 100 years. And it is so unconscionable that at the century of fighting for this, the Equal Rights Amendment, after it's first introduced to Congress, women in gender-expansive communities are still not recognized and granted the Equal Rights Amendment in the United States Constitution. Fixing that flaw will be a life-sustaining necessity to the Constitution, the continuation of our democracy. And the failures of the framers that did not include women into the Constitution and the founding documents was a constitutional error that is long demanded to be corrected. Women are being denied life-sustaining rights. We're seeing it every single day. We're seeing it from reproductive rights and access. We're seeing it for gender-affirming care. We're seeing it with equal pay. We're seeing it with racial justice and gender equity. We're seeing it in so many areas. And all of these rights are examples of civil and human rights. They're all interconnected, and they're all part of our struggle. We need the ERA to enlighten those connections to increase our protections. Without the ERA's explicit constitutional protections for sex equality, these victories won over the years will continue to be reversed and will continue to witness what we're seeing happen with the Dobbs decision and the case of Mike Firstone. We need to make sure that we see a modern constitution that speaks to equal rights and speaks to everyone and everyone's rights. That is the only solution, and the only solution to that is the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment today. The time is now. We can no longer wait. So I want to encourage everyone to sign up for the ERA, and we continue to push it because that time is now. We must have the Equal Rights Amendment. Thank you. Thank you.
The next speaker is the great Eleanor Smeal. I can't say enough about her wonderful leadership for 8 years. Come on up, Ellie, you got to sign. You got to sign before you speak. But for 8 years, she headed now during the battle in the 70s for the ERA amendment. She has selflessly given her life to fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment and other rights and protections for women. She's the founder and CEO of the Feminist Majority and now the publisher of Ms. Magazine. Thank you so much, Ellie.
We have to flip that over, but I just sneaked it in at the end. Anyway, thank you, Carolyn, and thank you for putting not only this together, but what Carolyn and what Carolyn Maloney wants to do is not small. It's very big. And I want to make sure everybody understands we intend to make this the biggest, most massive petition drive in the United States. There's a website, that's what that says there, sign for the number for the ERA, just ERA.org. And this, we want to go viral. Not only do we want to go have events and press conferences in every city and every town, we want so many people involved. We know we're living now in 2023, and it can go viral fast. So we want every group here to put it on their website and move to show one thing. When we went through this major drive of that was ended in 1982, we were about, and I went and looked it up because I wanted to make sure of this, about the high 50s, low 60% support. Today, we are in the high 70s, low 80s, and sometimes even higher in public opinion polls. We have been going up and up and up, and a small minority is holding us back, and they're not going to hold us back any longer. So the plan is, as you know, Senator Schumer just said it, that we're introducing SJR4, which says, and I want everybody to realize it, to emphasize it, the ERA has been ratified. It has been ratified. And it is valid, this statement says. It's ratified and valid in this case means that it is done. It is in the Constitution. But we still have another hoop that it has to be recognized. And that's what this resolution says. It is valid, it has been ratified, and the time limit doesn't exist. Okay? And it's in very legal terms. So many constitutional lawyers have looked at it. They think it is absolutely on target. The same resolution has been introduced in the House. And if we have to, we'll go through a discharge petition in the House. Now, we don't expect it to be immediate. As you know, there's a filibuster and all that stuff. But we know one thing, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, we're going to make it a major issue of the 2024 election. We are not going to waste another generation of women and girls and people, LGBT community. We are not going to waste another minute. As long as that's why we want it now, but we also know we have hurdles. We only have hurdles because we've had blockers who should be ashamed of themselves. Now we hope that some of them change when they see the numbers. And that's what we want to do here is organize those numbers. So now we've been on such a high note, we're going to go on even a higher note right now. And we're going to end this discussion, this part, and then go to a Q&A. But before that, for years we've been looking for an anthem for the Equal Rights Amendment. We could never, we had people write things, but didn't stick up. So we would keep on chanting, we'll never give up and we'll never give in. But this is a team, Gene Walker and Dean Balin had written for this occasion. We hope it catches on an ERA anthem. And so would they please come up and put music to all of our words.
There is still not, in our Constitution, an Equal Rights Amendment. So constitutionally, women are not recognized with equal eyes under the law. You would like to see that change?
Yes, recently there have been efforts to revive the amendment. I hope they succeed.
Stand up and stop the kneeling. Stand up for the ERA. No more should anyone be saying that he gets more of what they're paying. New rules for the game that they've been playing. Stand up for the ERA. It's hard to think that we should have to say it, but there are some who still want to delay it. Equality means equal when you weigh it. The scale is tipped, so we still fight to defend a woman's right. And now it's clear the tide is turning, but till all is fair and what we all are earning, we can sing it loud to those who are just learning to stand up for the ERA. Let's stand up for the ERA.
Thank you. I think that we are so close that we could get a simple majority. But they will be invoking the filibuster. The senator will then do a procedural move where he moves and votes with the Republicans in order to have the standing to bring it up later. So with the petition drive, we hope to get the 60 additional votes or have a procedural vote that will carve it out and not be required. There's not a doubt in my mind that we can get the majority of votes in the Senate. The filibuster will be a difficult challenge. Any other questions here? Yes.
First, can you pass around the paper for the that we sign, or would you rather have us do it online?
Online, because we intend to keep these and keep in touch with you. If you give us your email, we will be getting in touch with you weekly on what's happening with the
wonderful.
ERA.
And that's sort of my next question. I was wondering if we should be standing on street corners or doing things like that. People get so many
Well,
emails.
absolutely, but we want to capture it electronically so that we can communicate with you.
Fine.
That it's not,
Great.
we're very serious about this. The students are very serious about it. They have plans to visit the 28 CUNY schools and to get them involved. Just that alone is 250,000 signatures. And we hope that all of the organizations that are part of the ERA Coalition will reach out to their network, and that National Organization of Women will have their organizations throughout the cities and the states become active, and that we will move forward. Ms. Magazine will be promoting it every month and encouraging people to sign. It's a lot of work to get people to sign a petition. Everywhere I go, I ask people to sign the petition. And we have to do so. And I see so many heads of organizations here that have followings that are so important to the women's movement. And we urge all of you to get everyone to sign. I believe there's some refreshments upstairs in the Four Freedoms room. And we can all recess up there and continue this conversation. It's I just want to thank you so much for coming and being part of this petition drive. And what can I say? The real heroes and heroines are our Grove Scholars. I want them to stand, and we need to applaud their work. They wrote this petition. They have been working on it. They are our future leaders. We have to thank them. Bravo. Bravo to the Grove program, and bravo to our Grove leaders and all of you that are here today. Sally Menard.
Even if the vote's not a majority, holding the vote will put on the record every senator who dares oppose this amendment. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. I want to see who wants to vote against women's rights. You know, look at the petition. This is the amendment. It says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on the account of sex. It just says don't discriminate against women. So we're going to get a list of everybody who's opposed to it, and I think they should be removed from office and replaced with someone who supports equality. Right? Again, I want to give a very special thank you to Senator Schumer. I think we should all write and thank him for doing this, and let's get out there and pass it. I believe we can do it. I really do. It is within our grasp. Let's make it happen. ERA now. And of course, the great Gloria Steinem. Thank you for leading so many of us. Bravo to Gloria. Thank you so much for coming. And Christian Nunez from NOW, and Ellie Smeal, all of you. And Zakia. I'm working for Zakia now. I'm a part of the board of her organization and working with the ERA Coalition. Thank you so much. Let's talk upstairs, okay?